Welcome to another episode of Singapore's Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the J&A Investments team. And today we have another new launch review.
By the name of SKYE at Holland in the heart of Holland Village. So the last that came out was at One Holland Village Residences. And once the mall was developed, this entire place became much more vibrant.
Yep. I think it's an area where, it's like very atas. People really love it. People that are surrounding, the $1 million HDB, if they're looking for condos, this would be something that they look at. But of course, with the how prime the location is coming with a very hefty per square feet. So if this is something you're looking out for and you're unsure on, okay, with this per square feet, can I still exit with a certain kind of profit? And what stack should I consider? You can always scan the QR code here and be happy to break down once the prices are out.
And yes, most importantly, what is the walkaway price if you're looking at this property so you won't buy overvalued?
So the investment team has also come up with the unit selection guide for this development on what is a fair price to enter, what is a walkaway price, with so many, with different stacks available, which one has better potential. So if that's something that you're keen for, do scan the QR code over here and we have someone reach out to you also.
Yeah, so without much further ado, let's jump straight into this project. So before we start, I'd like to thank our clients who have given us 5-star review, 204 of them. We are still growing, so thank you for your support. And also for our channel, we have currently gotten over 17.2k subscribers. This is something that is very encouraging and hope to value to you with all the content that we have. Also, we have served over 700 investment clients, reaching 800. We're tabulating the numbers. And on average, our returns are about 19.56% per annum up to date.
So a quick introduction on SKYE Holland is actually a joint venture by 4 different developers, Capital Land, UOL, King Leong, as well as Singapore Land. 12,338 square meters. It's going to be 99 years from 20th May 2024. Number of units, 666.
Very interesting
very
number.
Interesting
The last
number.
time I saw was Ori 777. And I guess this is the other.
We'll see who's the next
interesting one.
888. Estimated TOP is going to be October 2029. And then you're going to get 2 blocks of 40 stories. So again, very tall towers, a development where you will see huge drastic difference in terms of pricing from the lower floor to the higher floors. Car park lot 666, 1-to-1, which is quite rare for a development that's usually closer to the MRT.
Yes, and this is a very interesting group of developers. We have King Leong, who is quite well known for CCR property. Then we have UL, which is, I would say, the traditional kind of development, Capital Land, which tend to make, I would say, a bigger land, bigger kind of layout. But you can see later on about the layout type. This time it tends to be more conventional rather than the Capital Land style of big floor plan, big layout type. So next up, let's take a look at the location. For SKYE Holland, located next to Holland Village MRT, with the new one, Holland Village Mall that was up. Okay, so interestingly, they managed to get above 2.8 plot ratio, which is 4.7. But most of the time, most of the developers around this area tend to be short story, 5 or 10 stories. But this is something that is very unique. Okay, so with here, you can see you can fetch over more than 36 story. The last one that came out, as I mentioned, is actually Ori, a 40 story within 2 blocks. So they are quite similar in terms of the kind of dimensions they are putting into this development.
Yes. And in terms of the view-wise, you will see that depending on which side you're facing, right, those that are facing the outer blocks, slightly above the mid-floor, you actually get quite nice landed view. But I think some of the stacks here may get a slight west sun depending on you're facing.
In terms of the facing wise, one thing note, there's one particular block. If you look to your left, you actually be looking at the HDB. But in short, they'll be facing either towards inner pool facing or towards the outward facing right here.
So if you're looking at facing wise, those that are facing the pool, like for example, stack 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you may face a little bit of angled west sun. So if that's something that you are concerned of, do take note of these stacks.
Okay, so location, people are very familiar. One Holland Village area is well known. Okay, fun fact, it used to be a few shop houses, but once the One Holland Village Mall came out, it actually draw a lot of footfall away from the shop houses. So a lot of shops there that are actually affected because of this particular phenomena. But in short, it's a thriving area, favorite area by a lot of people who love One Holland area. And in terms of location-wise, it's actually pretty near to Star Vista. One stop down is Buona Vista. And as mentioned, it's a One Holland Village Mall. Okay, and along with the old area, the Holland Road Shopping Centre.
So taking a look at the land bid. So for this plot of land, they actually got it about 5.24% higher than the second bidder, which means they didn't overbid. And I think, in fact, they got quite a good price for this particular plot. Second bidder was actually Hong Leong.
Yeah, in fact, this came out at a time where the market was a bit uncertain, especially when this area harmonization came up. So that's why we're able to get such a pricing. In fact, if you look at the break-even price, okay, it's about 2203 per square feet. Later, we compare to the whole market to see how it fares. And at a 7% break-even, it's about 2357 per square feet.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you talk about 15% profit margin in 2007, 20% in 2008. So they really launched it cheap. If they are very, I would say, conservative in terms of the approach, I think that's something that we may be able to consider.
Because 27 or 25, 27, it's something that even like OCR, high floor Altai has hit.
Yes.
So even though they got the land for cheap, it's very unlikely that, yes, maybe the starting from it is from these prices, but likely they will jump quite a bit for the mid to higher floor ones.
Correct. And given it's 40-story, the lower floor, upper floor can be a very huge difference. Like Ori started about 2003 XX, it went up to 3001. So it's crazy, and that's something you need to expect for this project.
Yep. So these are the few of the GRS plots that's coming up and why we're looking at them, because we also want to see, moving forward, let's say next year, what are OCR and RCR prices going to be looking like?
Yes.
And if at a CCR price, I can get something similar, then I know that at least I've got the protection of like my future benchmark prices.
So as compared to the rest, you can see you go up to even OCR, which recently Bayshore OCR is 138 per square feet. It is even higher than SKYE Holland, which is quite interesting.
Yep.
Because usually CCR should be more expensive than OCR. And if you look into this diagram and then compare the land bid prices, you'll notice something very interesting. That for SKYE Holland, it was actually bought at 1285 per square feet. Break even 2203 is very close to a lot of even some of the OCR land plot or RCR land plot. Okay, case in point, okay, we just look at Bayshore first. Bayshore Road is a 138
OCR.
per square feet. It's OCR. You look at Chuang Grove, okay, recently bidder is 1376 per square feet.
In fact, the parcel 2 just came out yesterday that SKYE Holdings and Sunway joint venture actually got it.
Yeah, about 1,003 plus per square feet also. So it is really 1,331 per square feet. So you can see right now SKYE Holland, because they bought it during the time where area harmonization is very new. People don't know what to expect. That's why they managed to get a good price. But doesn't mean they buy cheap means they will launch cheap.
We'll see
later on. Yeah. And in terms of CCR, other places like River Valley Green, Parcel B, is a 1,420 per square feet per plot ratio. Dunyan Road is about 1,410 per square feet, which is near to 6th Avenue area. Okay. And last one, Holland Link by Simlian, which is more deep in, is about 1,432 per square feet. So in short, you're actually getting, this is actually the cheapest land plot you can get in CCR, and even some cases cheaper than the RCR or even OCR area.
Yes. So the most recent news that we actually got is that for Chuan Grove, there were 2 plots, right? And SKYE Holdings and Sunway joint venture actually managed to get the 2 plots. And interestingly, what they would like to do is actually amalgamate both plots to become a very big development, or rather a mega development.
Yes.
And it depends on whether the government will allow it. And it's not the first time that this happened also.
And in fact, there was another project called Hyper Residence.
Yeah.
There are actually 2 plots that should amalgamate so that it can be a big development.
So I think it will be another big blockbuster project, and it's not going to be cheap based on the prices that they got. But back then when Trump Park launched, everybody said it was crazy expensive, but the development still got sold out.
Yeah, indeed.
And just like Trump Park back then, we were saying how crazy the prices were for OCR project, but look where we have came today. And the development still sold out, but if you're buying for investment, then you want to be a little bit more careful on the prices that you enter. Because own stay wise, maybe you're looking to hold for a longer term, you're going to stay there for 10 years. But investment wise, if you're not looking to hold such long term, then your price or your entry price has to be very sensitive.
Yes, indeed. And it's very interesting. Right now, it's actually at the 7th month, so it's a Ghost Month Festival. So developers don't really want to launch at this timing for SKYE Holland. So when it comes to launching, most of the project will be done next month.
Yes.
It's 4 launches, and let's see how the prices go.
Yes. And when for 4 launches, right, they could mean that back to back, or they could mean on the same day. And what does that mean? It's like last year, November, there were 6 launches, right? And if you are okay to consider more than one option, your chances are better, but you have to also be a bit more strategic on it. Based on a ballot number, which one should you consider first? If you're at different locations for booking, how are you going to be strategizing your booking? So this is something that you want to kind of understand on, like, if you're open to, let's say, 2 out of 4 developments that's coming up, how do I decide like which one to go for? Then do contact us and we can go through that with you also. Yeah,
and why we share this is Trump Park back then was similar. In fact, we were supposed to launch 3 projects on one day.
But then
they shifted forward. It's really like a Uno reverse. They decided to shift it forward so that they won't complete the other 2 projects, Emerald Katong and Nava Grove. And when that happened, the strategy to approach is very different. So you're keen to find more about a strategy about how to approach all these kind of launches, do scan the QR code right below, and we're more than happy to share with you.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at the surrounding HDB prices, I think $1 million HDB in today's market is not something uncommon. It's pretty common. But to hit like 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, you have to look at areas like Clementi and Queenstown. And these are areas that are kind of surrounding the Holland area.
Yep.
So $1 million HDB, if you were to see, 1.55, 5-room flat at Dover Gardens, very near to where I stay. And then you're going to see at Clementi, their 5-room has also hit about 1.45, and Queenstown 5-room flat has hit 1.658 million. So you can be sure that, people that are offloading these HDBs, they're coming out with a lot of equity because when they initially bought in, this were not the prices that they bought in at. And when they exit, after paying down the loan, actually a lot of it is being equity that's being taken out for the next property.
And why is it linked to SKYE Holland? It's because this area actually is very near the Holland area. It's like Holland is a very nice place, like CCR. But just across the border, you have Dover, you have Clementi. So if all this and if you come to upgrading, this is really just one street across, one zone across. And that's something that will potentially fuel the demand in the long-term run for this area.
Okay, so looking at unit mix, you would see interestingly that most of it are actually 2-beders, 370 units, and that's more than 50% of the mix. And then you have about 22%, which is 148 units of 3-beders, 16.7% of 4-beders, as well as 5.6% of 5-beders, and that's about 37 units.
So it's very interesting that developers set a 55% unit mix for 2-bedroom, because in the Holland area, most of them, the demand actually are in the 3 to 4-bedroom.
Yep.
Predominantly because Holland area are mainly for family stay. So the 3 to 4-bedroom tend to have higher demand yet lower supply.
Yes, and I think for 2-beders, that's why they're building majority of it. It's also they understand that in this area, because it's so prime, the per square feet tend to be a little bit higher. If someone wants to enter into here and they're limited by budget, then no choice, because the per square feet is so high, right?
Yes.
They have to go into a lower quantum, and that's why I think the developer decided to build more 2-beders.
Yes. So with this, let's analyze a floor plan to understand more what kind of unit types will be out. So first up, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. Very interesting because 2-bed, 1-bath in most of the areas tend to not be as popular. But with this, if it's 2-bed, 1-bath, 3,200 per square feet, it will likely go about 1.9 million. Okay, so why we put 3,200 is because we assume maybe starting average, even average 2.7 all the way to 3,005. The average will be close to 3,200 thereabout. But one thing, if they relaunch at this price, honestly, it will be on the higher side for the 2-bedroom, which we'll compare why later on for the resale.
Yeah, so layout-wise, there are 2 stacks. I think they're just mirror image. It's just a walk-in kitchen. Again, your master bath have no windows, which is quite standard, I would say. And one thing to just note is that your wall that is protruding out from your bedroom too, it's going to be like the balcony of the other stack, which is stack 16. So one thing to also note for these 2 stacks is that for both different stacks, either the master bedroom or bedroom 2 would share a wall. Means when you look out, you won't get that kind of unblocked view. You would have this wall that's kind of protruding out on one side, and that would likely be your neighbor's balcony.
Yes. So very interesting. 3,200 it could be on the higher end because for 2-bed, 1-bath, the demand is not as high. So if everyone knows about this, potentially launch it cheaper, when closer to River Green kind of prices at a River Valley area. Then from there, you will see whether it's worth considering.
Yep. Okay, the next one we'll move on to is 2-bed, 2-bath, 667. The layout is okay. I mean, if you've seen some of the other developers there after area harmonization, some of them did manage to do like a tuck-in kitchen. I think for this one, if you do really want to enclose it, you can still do, because it's not like the straight walk-in kind, right? But again, both bathrooms have no windows, and you have that same kind of protruding walls out for both units.
Yes. Okay. And next is another 2-bed, 2-bath, 678 square feet. This is the one with the tuck-in kitchen, okay, where you have enclosed. The downside is there's no window for both the kitchen and also for the bathrooms. Okay, and this is a dumbbell layout, which is getting more and more popular nowadays because developers really want to maximize the layout to make sure that at least the PSF is justifiable.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on what you're looking at, right? I think more conventionally, people may prefer the kitchen that is tucked in. But I think the benefit of the previous layout is because there is no wall that's covering up. The 6781, you're kind of fixed. Your length of your living room is fixed at where your kitchen ends. But for the other one, because it's fully open concept, it may seem like your living and dining area, it's much bigger.
So pros and cons. Okay, next let's take a look at a 2+ study. So the only difference for this study is very interesting. They actually did it within the bedroom.
Yeah.
So if you want to hack down, you can actually make into an extremely huge master bedroom.
We've seen this before.
Yes, Sora.
Sora, yes.
Yes, so this project, Sora, they actually did something like this, and they sort of make it a study room. So some people they enclose with a glass panel, and this entire study become like a exclusive study area.
Yes, I think it's the pros and cons, right? Because for study room wise, usually if it's in the living room and it's just fully walled, people say that there is no light coming in, there's no window. So now they put it to be part of the master bedroom. But then it depends on like what's the divider, right? If it's a full wall, then of course it could mean that your master bedroom is going to be very dark because your study is going to get all the light. But if it is like a glass, then okay, then maybe the light will still come in.
Yes, and for this, they also made an enclosed kitchen, okay, to be more desirable as a 2+ size since the quantum is higher. So average PSA at 3002 will give you about close to 2.3 million. Okay. Then next is the other conventional layout.
This is the one with the
study within the living room area,
yes,
which enclosed. So it looks more like a storage
room. I don't think
study.
anybody will use it as a study. It's very depressing to study inside also.
Yeah. So interesting that this layout. But 743 square feet similarly about close to 2.4 million at 3002 per square feet.
Yeah. Okay. So comparing for the let's say 2-bed, 2-bath being around the 2.1 to about 2.3 plus if it's a 2+ study. If you look at CCR average right now in the new launch market, per square feet is around 3,000 and average quantum is about 2.18 thereabout.
So SKYE Holland look at this and say, okay, let's launch it cheaper. I think they do have the benefit to do so because they bought land cheap. So hopefully they do watch this video and really have some sensing of where the market is heading.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the 3-beta. 3-betas are at 915. We don't see like the 786 or the 818, unfortunately. I think with that kind of unit size, you would probably get a very good quantum, but not in this case.
Yes.
So 915, these are the two compact stacks, right? And I think they are pretty similar in their layout, besides the difference in the corridor.
Yeah. So with the price of 3,002 per square feet, about close to 2.9 million, close to 3 million. Okay. So in terms of layout type, very interesting. Instead of having 3 bedrooms on one side, you actually have one of the bedroom that's nicely tucked in.
You get a different view.
A different view that's inside, I would say, side view facing. And you actually have a more shorter walkway. So that's the benefit of this particular layout.
So because of how the rooms are being positioned and not the traditional all 3 face the same side, right? Bedroom 3 for stack 38 wise, you would have some kind of vestment. So do take note of that also.
Yes. Okay, and for the next 3-bedroom premium, 1076 square feet is something more conventional. I believe this will actually be highly in demand in Holland area. In fact, at this kind of layout with a storeroom, decent living room size, there's some wasted space at the walkway.
At the walkway. Usually 980 people can build this in other developments. But this is almost like 100 square feet more because it's 1076.
Yes, and some are in fact wasted at the walkway, some extent. But in short, even with that, the whole layout is still very, very nicely done up. A conventional 3-bedroom and one side with a storeroom, very ideal for family who really just want Holland area.
Yeah, so if let's say 100 square feet, right, times 3,250, that is almost 300,000.
Yeah.
If only they had built it a little tighter at 980 square feet, because for previous developments, developers were able to fit like the 3-bedroom premium with the home shelter at a 980.
Indeed. And 3,250 per square feet. The average price about 3.5 million. Okay, this is for the launch. It's actually slightly on the steeper side, but with the demand that is having this area and they really want a unit here, it's something brand new, there's the only few kind of listing that give you a 3-bedroom premium with kind of layout. So that's something to take note.
Okay, so if you were to go to CCR 3-betas, their per square feet is about 3,142. So you can see previously when we look at 2-betas, their per square feet was about 3,000. Usually smaller unit types per square feet is higher, but interestingly for CCR projects, the bigger unit types per square feet tend to be higher because of the demand.
Yes.
And average quantum wise for 3-betas is about 3.295, which is close to 3.3 million.
So next up, let's take a look at a 4-bed 3-bath. Nowadays for CCR, private lift is, I would say, an important element. So they added in the SKYE Holland area, 4-bed 3-bath with conventional layout, 3-bedroom facing one side and one facing the inside. Based on 3,250 per square feet, the average price about 4 million, which I would say is quite, I would say, the norm nowadays for even a 4-bedroom within a CCR area.
So normally for this kind of layout where the 4 bedrooms are not facing the same side, usually there will be a least favorite child, we always say, because you're facing the inside of your other neighbor for your 4th bedroom.
Okay, one thing to take note is the wet kitchen that you tuck inside is very different from most of conventional layout where you have dry kitchen where you side by side. Okay, so there's something to take note. For CCR, they let us kind of privacy access where the wet kitchen is tucked away from the dry kitchen rather than just being side by side like a conventional, traditional city fringe layout.
Okay, so next one will be the 4-bed, 4-bath. I think this is the more acceptable, I would say, in CCR, where once you hit the 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom, people would generally like a landscape layout.
Yes.
When you're going into like OCR or RCR, people who are a little bit more price sensitive, they will prefer like a portrait kind of layout, so that your balcony is not so big. But when you come to this kind of quantum, and people are saying, if I'm already paying this kind of quantum, I do expect like my living space to look a certain kind of way.
It's very interesting because the CCR buyer, they have budget, they have the money to buy. So what they want to buy is something they like. So it's very interesting, this kind of layout, although we see, maybe it's too big, maybe the price is on the higher side, but you notice people who love this area just want to buy.
Yeah.
And the bedroom, you can see master bedroom, they even have a small window. All these small details are important. We're walking wardrobe, very huge master bedroom. And from there, along with the kitchen area, last I saw is in this condo called Avenue, which is very interesting. People say it's crazy at 3,000 per square feet. Now it's at 3,007 per square feet, which people never thought it would hit that kind of per square feet.
Yes.
But because of layout and because of the kind of lack of limited size, limited availability for this kind of size, that is when you can, that is kind of demand. Okay, the only one downside for this layout is a junior master bedroom where there's actually a long walkway. So there's a wasted space when it comes to this area to factor into 1,464 square feet.
Yeah, so for junior master, right, you may also have a little bit of west sun due to the positioning of the room. And I guess why there's a long walkway also, they could either cut the walkway and let the walkway be in like the corridor. But I think developers' point of view is like, if it's in your room, at least you feel like your room is slightly bigger. But if it's in the corridor, then like it's just another corridor space.
Yes, indeed. And 4.7 million is very close to 5 million. People say, hey, I can buy a landed elsewhere, but kidding over here is Holland area. The landed is mainly going at about 7-8 million. It's very vast. And people will say Holland area, that area, if you really go and explore around Holland Village, there's actually GCB enclave. The 20 million landers are there even. Yeah. So this is something to take note. It's a very exclusive enclave. So 4+ million in Holland area, I would say people won't say, hey, I can buy landed. It's very different if you really compare to just a city fringe property.
Yes. So moving on to CCR 4-bedder, you would see again a per square feet jump. So just now we saw 2-bedder was about 3,000 per square feet. 3-bedder was 3,001 plus per square feet. And 4-bedder is 3,005 per square feet. Yes. And the quantum is about 7.9 million for a CCR new development. So you really see that in CCR, people are going for the bigger bedroom types, and it's interesting to see the reverse in like your OCR, for example.
Yeah, so you can see the demand is much higher and the supply is much lower because once people buy, especially those big floor plates,
it's not so much for flipping, it's more on like
for
own stay.
And that's when they will hold and they don't sell and end up in the market, there's not many. So a lot of people are competing for something of a especially big floor plate type. And that's when the demand is higher with a higher PSF.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one we'll look at is the 5-bedder at 1,765 square feet with 3,250 per square feet, or even higher potentially, maybe for a 5-bedder. It is going to be looking about 5.7 to maybe about 5.8 million.
Yes, and very interesting because we see in Visa Residences all the way at Beauty World. People are really selling at 7.9, 8+ million, the big floor plate. So you can see very interesting, big floor, last one to sell, but people still buy. It means that there's a certain form of target group that this big floor plates are actually looking at.
Yes.
One thing to take note is the living room and dining is pretty huge for conventional layout type, but maybe in terms of 5-bedroom, people can be looking at something even bigger to want to stay in this area.
Okay, so the next one to compare is CCR new launches in 2025. I think something comparable would be River Green that just came up at Great World City versus Upper House at Orchard Boulevard. So for these two developments, they are both near the MRT, Great World MRT as well as Orchard Boulevard MRT. So very similar to SKYE HOLLAND that's also next to Holland Village.
And our units also pretty big, pretty comparable, 524 units and 301 units.
Yes.
Okay? Both TOP in 2028, 2030.
So looking at prices for 2, 3 and 4-bedder for Upper House, you would see that 2-bedders ranges about the 2.4 million range, 3-bedder it's around 3.5 and 4-bedder is about 7.4. So for 2 and 3, actually it's quite comparable to what SKYE Holland is actually launching it, because SKYE Holland, their average for 2-bed, 2 bath is going to be about 2.1, and that 3-bedder is going to be about 3.497.
So our house is very interesting. The 4-bedder launched at about 7+ million, which is interlocking kind of layout, which I seen in our previous video, big floor plate. So I would say if SKYE Holland were to come in, they're really going to compare using quantum play to be able to move this unit.
Okay, so you'll see also for per square feet wise, 2, 3, and 4, same thing that we talked about, right? The 4-bedder per square feet is 3,616, 3-bedder is 3,505, and 2-bedder is 3,267. So really the demand for here, it's like, if you have the budget, people are willing to pay for like better views and higher floors.
Yes, indeed. And next, let's look at Rio Green, a very interesting product because it was actually supposed to CCR, but it seems when you look at the layout and also how they actually price, they actually seem to cater more towards the mass market. Yeah, so not extreme luxury finishing, but more towards entry price. So you can see for 2-bedder, on average, it's a 1.8 million to quantum, 3,001 per square feet, all the way up to about 2.3 for the 2+ study. Then you have the 3-bedder, about 2.6 million, okay, all the way up to about 3 million. 4-bedder, which actually is actually more like a 3 bedroom plus study, because the 4 bedroom is a bit small. It's about on average 3.1 million, about 3,000 per square, up to 3,005 per square feet. So yes, per square is high, but you can see Rio Green, they actually play more on quantum play.
Like their 3-bedders was like 797, if you're not wrong.
Yes. And that is when looking at this kind of layout, you'll notice that it got step up very quickly because it's within an affordable quantum range for even a mass market to enter.
Yeah, so I think something interesting that we are seeing, or a shift in buyer's mindset or mentality, is that last time for CCR projects, bigger floor plate tend to do better.
Yes.
But as per square feet gets more and more expensive, people get priced out. That's when they're okay to accept like the smaller unit types. Because in the past, smaller unit types in CCR, they don't do as well.
Yes.
People are just not looking at it, because people that have the quantum, they generally already have the budget, so they won't compromise on the size.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting right now. SKYE Holland had two comparables. You have all the way there's high-end upper house CDL that do it at Orchard Boulevard area, and you have another as mass market. I would say the PSF as 3,000, but they play on quantum play. But we don't have even a unit restriction how the average size should be. You can build any size in short and build as many units as they want. So if the SKYE Holland would launch around this pricing, I believe it will be able to move effectively.
Yeah. Okay, next one we want to look at is a resale comparisons. Most of them over here are freehold, with One Holland Village being the last leasehold project. Later on in this video, we're also going to touch a bit on, with so many freehold projects and this being a leasehold, is it going to be like a downside to it?
Yeah. So in terms of number of units, they're actually pretty similar, ranging from 296 to 638 units, each gap of 4 to 5 years. In fact, the closest comparable you see here is actually a One Holland Village, right next to SKYE Holland, 99 year, next to Holland Village MRT.
Yeah, but unfortunately for One Holland Village, it's the closest comparison, but you don't have much transactions that are being caveated yet. We only have one, so that's the only reference point we have. But we'll take a look at the other two freehold ones, which is Hill on Holland as well as Leiden Green.
So let's take a look at how are the transactions for the 2-bedder, 3-bedder, and 4-bedder. So first up, 2-bedder. Okay, for last 1 year, interesting One Holland Village, there is not much transaction for 2-bedder for some reason.
Yep.
And in fact, there are 34 listing up to date that is on the market that no one is transacting. Okay, potentially it could be because they'll be maybe waiting for the SKYE Holland and seeing how it perform, and then from there decide if I can buy it cheaper than the resale. They may end up, because of contemplate, consider SKYE Holland. So a lot of people are waiting. Okay. Meanwhile, we have Here Holland, which is a freehold project along Leiden Green, both are freehold, 45 years apart. You can see here Holland, slightly a smaller project, 1.7 million in terms of the average prices on about 2,006 per square feet. And this is actually before area harmonization. Okay. And last but not least, you have Leiden Green, which is about 2 million. Okay, so this the 2 million kind of quantum, that's about 2-bed, 2-bath. Okay, on average about 2,008 per square feet.
Yes, and if you compare to the layout wise, with the 2-bed, 1-bath being about 1.89, you'd see that here on Holland, One Holland Village as well as Leiden Green, these are their 2-bed, 1-bath, 614 square feet, 689 square feet, as well as 667 square feet. And they range about 1.6 to about 2 million for One Holland Village. But One Holland Village just was transacted like 2023. So there hasn't been any like recently transacted ones. The closest comparison will be like here on Holland or Leiden Green. And I guess the concern people will have is that, hey, these two are like freehold projects.
Yep. And
they are not like 10, 20-year-old projects. The age gap you're going to be looking at is maybe about 4 to 5 years. And if you're to enter at 1.9, as a leasehold, you would be paying close to maybe about 200 plus to 300k per square feet.
Yes, indeed. And the only saving grace for One Holland Village area is it's next to MRT. Living grace actually near to Farrow MRT, which is one stop down. And one more reason potentially why One Holland Village hasn't been transaction. They're listing the market but no one to buy.
Yes.
Because you see, it's a 99 year at 2+ million. Yet you can hear Holland and Leading Green freehold around there selling cheaper. So it's very hard for people to accept this kind of prices, even though it's next to MRT.
Yeah, so like this person that bought 32nd floor, right? 2 million back in 2023. Today, if let's say 3 years later, next year he want to exit, with a good profit, he would have to sell like maybe 2.2 to 2.3, and he is competing or trying to sell almost 600k higher than, or 4 to 600k higher than, let's say, here in Holland.
In fact, Leading Green, which also at least about close to 400 plus k higher. All right.
Okay, so that's a concern for 2-bed 1, but let's look at 2-bed 2-bath. 2-bed 2-bath, 3,002 square feet for SKYE Holland is going to be about 2.1 million. And if you go to One Holland Village, back then, 2023, it was also about 2.16. Leading Green currently last transacted in April was about 2 million, and here on Holland is about 1.74.
Yes. So in terms of layout type, we can see, okay, the only saving grace for our SKYE Holland, if they want to do it well, is actually the dumbbell layout. Okay, some people may prefer a more efficient layout to actually compensate for the higher PSL.
Yes, because for the others, you would see that the kitchen is similarly all walk-in, whether it's One Holland Village to here on Holland. Leading Green maybe still can enclose a little bit because they got a window for Leading Green.
Yes, indeed. Alright, so next let's take a look at the 3-bedder. For One Holland Village, interestingly, no 3-bedder compact transacted. The 1,000 square feet is not transacted. The only one is 1,238, which is about 4.68 million. Yeah. Very interesting.
This person actually paid SSD.
Yes. 2 years. So that's our guess. Okay, there's something that if you pay SSD, there are only 2 reasons. One is someone who really got a very good buyer who decided to offer a crazy price, which is very crazy, 3,781%.
Yes,
only one
very unlikely kind of prices.
Unlikely kind of prices. Then yes, maybe they may like go, but he didn't buy very cheap either, about 3,003 per square feet.
Yeah.
Okay, the second reason, it could be internal sale. So he sell to a family member and just to let go.
Boost up the prices in this development.
And potentially also to buy a unit urgently. Yeah, so there's something that may happen. Okay, but meanwhile, let's compare something that's more transaction, having more transaction. Is here in Holland on average about 3.13 million, 2,009 per square feet freehold. And for Leading Green, the freehold is about 3.471 million, about 3,000 per square feet.
Yeah.
So take note for here in Holland, okay, most of the 3-bed are compact layout. Okay, they don't have like, I would say, extremely huge premium kind of layout. Okay, as compared to that of Leading Green, that's why you see a huge difference in the prices, about 3.5 for Leading Green for, I would say, premium layout. And then there is an extremely huge, the 3-bedder, that's about 4.7 million.
Yeah.
So with this, let's jump straight into the different layout comparison. Okay, first up, we have the compact layout, 905 square feet, about 2.9 million. Okay, take note, One Holland Village, there's no transaction, so we can't have a apple comparison. Here in Holland, same thing, interestingly, there's no transaction in the last 2 years. Okay, rationale because you can see this layout type, 2023, so about 2.7 million back then.
Yep.
This is an open concept kitchen. Okay, for Holland area, okay, people are more intuitive to want to actually buy into, I would say, an enclosed kitchen layout. So the people say, yes, I can pull up the glass and then make it like more like enclosed. But at the end of the day, there's a demand-wise, people actually do prefer more towards enclosed kitchen type. Okay, so that's why here in Holland, potentially they're listing in the market, but no one is selling, no one is buying. Meanwhile, for Leading Green, okay, you can see transaction very recent, 958 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2.8 million, about 2,009 per square feet.
Yeah.
So you compare apple to apple, your Leading Green freehold, I would say SKYE Holland will launch in 99 year, factor in the freehold premium. Potentially, it can be on the pricier side, but at the end of the day, it's a demand over here that is actually absorbing all this unit type.
And if we go to the 3-bed, 3-bath 1076 to 3,250, SKYE Holland is going to be about 3.497, right? One Holland Village, again, 2 years ago, transactions is about 3.3. Here on Holland, it's about 3.1, and Leading Green is about 3 million. So again, there is a little bit of a gap over here when you're comparing to your freehold projects, when you're a leasehold. When it comes to exiting, people could be looking at, okay, yes, you do have MRT, but there's a possibility I can get something around the same age, 4 to 5 years difference, and at a freehold project, potentially lower than yours.
Yes, so that's the reason why for One Holland Village, last transaction is 2023. You see, buy 3.3, one side even 3.4, 3.5. We always say, hey, I can buy Leading Green at 104 square feet in 2024 last year. And these are the prices that I would say it caps the growth of One Holland Village. So with this in my SKYE Holland, if they really want to like do well, there's some things they have to
I think you have to
consider.
launch a bit lower.
Yes, launch a bit lower with this in mind.
So One Holland Village, there are no transactions for 4-beders. Here on Holland, there aren't any 4-bedrooms. So the only one we can look at is Leiden Green. So for Leiden Green, you would see that the lowest transactions for their 4-bedroom in the past 1 year is about 4.9, average is about 5 million, and the highest is about 5.2 million.
Yes. And compare layout to layout, actually quite similar. Okay, in the sense 1238 square feet compared to Leiden Green, about 1496 square feet. The only difference lies in your portrait layout over here compared to the landscape layout with a much bigger balcony space.
Yes.
Okay? And one more thing is for the wet kitchen over here, it's a little interesting. It's more, I would say, tucked in right next to the dry kitchen as compared to wet kitchen over here for your SKYE Holland, which is more exclusive. Right. And in terms of the bedroom type, I would say Leiden Green is slightly bigger for the master bedroom as compared to that of your SKYE Holland. So with that, I think you can see if SKYE Holland were to launch a 4-bedroom at this kind of prices, because there's no supply in this area for 4-bedroom, it will potentially still be able to move despite having a high PSA, which is very interesting because of the lack of supply in this area.
I think for 4-bedder wise, it still seems like fair, right? Because you're not really like overpaying as compared to your competitors. I think every time when you look at entry, you must kind of see, okay, what are my competitors' layout like? What are their pricing looking like? You know, if I'm entering at a higher price, then I better make sure that I have like better characteristics in terms of layout or in terms of view.
Yes.
But if like I am leasehold, my competitor is freehold, their layout is better than mine and I'm paying more, then you have to be a bit careful on the exit part.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the only downside I would say for this 4-bedroom is the living area. Some people find it too small.
Too small.
Yeah, so it's something you must take in consideration factor into the entry price. And look at the 4-bed 4-bar SKYE Holland. Okay, with an additional bathroom we have over here, 99 year, you're going at about 4.7 million. You're pretty close to the Leiden Green price. Okay, just the only difference is with additional toilet and also your kitchen is a more interesting kind of avenue kind of layout where you have a kitchen island along with an enclosed kitchen that can be opened up if needed to. And of course, people will say, let's compare to One Holland Village, which in this case is a 4-bed 4-bar, very huge balcony area. People say it could be something wasted space. Huge living area. Okay, we have a dry kitchen right next to the living area, along with an enclosed kitchen right behind. So you can see, even with this One Holland Village at 208 square feet, a 4-bedder transacted at 7 million. What a last few to sell, which shows that liquidity is not the best because of the high quantum, but still people are willing to buy at discount prices. But of course, not apple comparison, but something to take note.
Yeah. So looking at the resale comparisons, what we wanted to take a look is, within 1 kilometer from the Holland V MRT, if I were to look at what's the average quantum, regardless of whether it's leasehold or freehold, even though most of them are freehold, the 2, 3, and 4-bedder quantum, you will see that the 2-bedders are around 2.2 million, 3-bedders are around 3.3, and 4-bedders are around 5.1. Why we always look at the average of a certain area is because when you when you enter into a new development, you don't want to be too far off from the average pricing. Meaning, if 2.2 is like a acceptable pricing in this area, you don't want to go and enter like 2.6 or 2.7 for like a new development. Or knowing that our 3-bedder says average like 3.3, you don't go and pay like 4 million.
Correct. So I think this actually includes resale property. So if you enter at one same price or even below, that's something I would say is a safe entry price. Yeah.
So these are all the resale transactions that we've put up. That is 1 kilometer from Holland V MRT for the 3-bedder. So we did this for the 3-bedder and 4-bedder. If you do need the analysis for the 2-bedders or the 5-bedders, do let us know and we can send it to you also. So in total, there are about 43 transactions for 2025. Biggest development being the Leiden at 1715 units and smallest development being Moy Residence at 24 units. So for the average minimum price, meaning if you take the minimum from all the developments and you take the average is about 3.224 and the average maximum is about 3.6 million. So one thing you need to note is that most of the developments here are all smaller projects and freehold with 299 years, which is One Holland Village as well as the Leiden.
Yeah, so if you were to see something low PSI like Moy Residences, in this case Holland Peak, okay, there's some cases are very old already for some, and others old, age is 31, 35, and 43 years old. And some projects like Holland Peak is small, but 100 plus 132 units. So you must not just look at PSA, you must really go and justify and understand what exactly is the right price you should get at. Yeah, at 915 square feet, about 2.9 million, I would say actually ranging on the below the average kind of price, even though it's 3,002. But one thing, you cannot just compare within the area. You must really compare to whole Singapore, they have a proper matrix or walkaway price. Meanwhile, for the 1076 square feet, I would say it falls on the higher end of the 3.5 million range, okay, closer to 3.6. So from there, we're able to assess what kind of price we should enter into 3-bedder and SKYE at Holland.
Okay. So for 4-bedroom wise, even lesser transactions, because like we mentioned, right, normally for bigger floor plates, people buy in for own stay and they don't really put it out in the market to sell. And that's why they can fetch a higher per square feet. It's also because every time a unit comes out, there are like multiple buyers waiting to buy, but there's only like very few units that are in the market. So 15 transactions for 2025, again, biggest development being D'Leedon that has a 4-bedder, and the smallest development is Fair Lodge with 22 units. Average minimum pricing, it's about 5 million for the 4-bedders, and maximum it's about 5.791 million.
So you can see a lot of this ranging this Leedon residences. Okay, they are big floor plate, luxurious. I mean, the car park is beautiful. I would say it's more of the ultra luxe kind of property. Okay, along with like Parvis, also similarly done up, you can get a 6.1 to 7.6 million. But the rest, okay, Waterfall Garden, big floor plate. Okay, for penthouse you need 8+ million. But for the rest, most of them they all fall within the 4 million quantum range. So there's something to take note when it comes to entering into one Holland Village. You have a comparison. So that's why when entering to SKYE at Holland, okay, if you're hovering about the 4 million range, I would say you're pretty safe. But one thing to take note is you must compare the layout type and not just about the average prices. Yeah. Okay, last thing to take note is areas like the Fort and Fair Lodge are small development, so you can't really compare apple to apple. You need to compare to the bigger development in this area.
Yeah, so I think for this development, even though yes, per square feet may be on the higher end, but you must also understand that in this area, people are used to very high quantum, like big floor plates, 4-bedders. And for people that are looking from an own stay perspective, for a 4-bedroom in Holland, there are not many options that will allow them to enter because in the past, developers just love to build bigger floor plates because that was the trend before like the per square feet went up. People prefer bigger floor plates. So with developers building smaller floor plates like SKYE Holland, it could give people the chance that they only have like a 4+ million budget that weren't able to enter, and now having the chance to enter.
Yes, indeed. All right.
In terms of rental, District 10 is very big. People will say, some other areas are more prestige in terms of location. Rental may be higher. But if you were to really look at the numbers, 3-bedroom average rental in Holland area, it's slightly better than the whole of District 10, in fact. About $356 more. However, for the 4-bedder in Holland, their rental, it's about $843 lesser than the whole of District 10. I wouldn't say there is too much difference on the prices, maybe a couple hundred here and there, but these are the general sensing for the rental prices.
Yes, indeed. So rationale why this could be a case is for 3-bedroom, a lot of them are smaller families and they really love their location next to MRT, so they are really pay that premium more. But because of 4-bedroom, people likely will be driving, they like big floor plates area. I think at the end of the day, Holland area, regardless whether it's the MRT or not next to MRT, it's not a very important thing to them. They just like the exclusivity, and that's why we can pay a higher premium in other area in Bukit Timah where floor plates are bigger and it's more exclusive.
Right. Yeah. So looking at 99 years and versus leasehold in District 10, you would see that most of the developments are actually freehold projects. All the blue dots here are actually all the freehold ones, and the yellow ones are actually the few leasehold around this area. If you were to look at the number of transactions, 25% of the total transactions, that's about 185 units in 2025, are 99 years leasehold. So most of them are still freehold being transacted, but that's also because most of the projects here are freehold.
But just to take note nowadays, especially when you're brand new, free leasehold doesn't matter so much in the first 10 to 15 years because things are still new. So sometimes the premium that you get within this area usually is about 12 to 15% for freehold rather than much more higher. So you really must assess project and be able to do a more accurate analysis of that project itself.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit harder to just compare freehold and leasehold when the freehold is when it's let's say both are brand new, free and leasehold is kind of fair, right? But what about brand new leasehold and then you're looking at a super old freehold that's 20 years old? How should you then compare the gap? And this is something that was discussed recently because they are saying aging condos are struggling, meaning like you are getting freehold.
And these are cases where things are not doing well in the condo itself, and the motivation to really want to sell is actually much higher, allowing them to actually fetch a lower price as compared to what we think that freehold should always be more expensive. So with that, we come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the analysis. And as usual, we're doing the bar approach. Buy, wait or avoid for SKYE Holland. Okay, so let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Wait. Okay, so I wait.
Okay, so I mean, of course, we don't know the pricing yet, right? But if it does launch at 3,002, I really think it depends on what your purpose is into buying this area. If it's like, your own stay, you really love this area, it's been something that you're looking out for, I think if you don't jump too high, the pricing may still be fair. But from a pure investment point of view, I probably wouldn't go for it. I think there are better options if it's from a pure investment point of view where, like a 2-bedder over here that is hitting like maybe a 2 million, 2.2. You could maybe get a 3-bedder or even some areas a brand new 4-bedder. And I think for investment-wise, going bigger always makes more sense than going into the smaller unit. Even though, yes, a location may be better.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, people may say, I want to buy a good location, but that's not always the case. For us, we actually look at entry price. So for me, why it's weight is if the entry price at launch is cheap, because they do have a lot of buffer.
Their break-even was
pretty low. So hopefully they are also more realistic.
Maybe they launched at 2.7.
Yeah, 2.7. Then
you never know.
Then we have a separate discussion. The key thing is always to buy and make sure that you have a walkaway price, and not just rush in it and buy any property that is hot and people are rushing for it, but rather be very selective. And in fact, the unit type, I'd rather get a 3-bedder if I can in this unit type because the demand actually is higher
than a 2-bedder.
Than a 2-bedder.
Yes.
But key thing over here is always do your sums, do your numbers, and understand what your needs are.
Yep. So if you don't know what other alternatives there are and you're just looking in the market and you're just buying for investment and you want to know besides SKYE Holland, what are some of the options you can consider, you can always scan the QR code and we'll be happy to reach out to you and share that with you.
And with this, we come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. My name is Christian.
This is Grace and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.